Welcome to Metals Investors Forum. My name is Brian Leni. I'm the editor of Junior Stocking Premium. Today with me, I have Ervin Easterday, CEO of Hot Chili. Christian, thank you so much for presenting with me the last couple of days here at Myth. Let's start with Levera. I think Levera is one of the most exciting parts of the Hot Chili story, especially what it could mean in the grander scheme of things. But let's talk about the drill results you just released, what it means to the company, and then maybe parlay it into what Levera could mean in the whole scheme of things.
Well, thanks, Brian, and great to have you at our project and seeing firsthand all the infrastructure and how much work has been done over 15 years now to build this project. So to have a major discovery in Levera going on top of 1 billion tons of established resources already is pretty significant, particularly the results that are coming out. And I think the diamond results from phase 2, which have only just started hitting the market, have really, really transformed that discovery. You look at the impact of 10,000 meters of RC, 1 kilometer long, 700 meter wide discovery from near surface, now just 4 diamond holes. And we've almost doubled what we were looking at. But most importantly, it's really focused the diamond program at the moment on that high grade core, and that's been converging. It looks like it's being extended now to surface, and we've just put out a 495 and a 420 meter intercept into the market at around 0.5% copper, 0.1 gold. And previously, a 530 meter intercept, but it's that near surface high grade intersections that go through the high grade core, which I think are really making a big difference. Some 150 meters at 0.6 copper, 0.3 gold. So when you're talking about getting results, bulk results at 50% better than the front end grade of our advanced development Costa Fuego to the north, that's a really big impact for the economics of a project. If you can bring a high grade starter pit into the front end, dramatically reduces paybacks, levers project NPV and IRR and all the nice things that you need when you're undertaking a feasibility, and the copper market is hitting $6 a pound.
Totally. And I think that, especially where we were, if you rewind back, less than a year ago, I think the market was really missing that. As an investor, I look for opportunities that are missed or undervalued. To me, what's glaring value. And you putting Levera potentially at the beginning of your mine plan pushes some of that CapEx that was originally in that original. And I know you're going through a trade-off study on the different arrangements of the mining operation, but getting that in the front end, you get that payback higher, you get over 20% IRR, which is a huge deal, as you said, when it comes to putting this thing into production and ultimately raising the money to build it, right? Yeah,
that's right. And then just to give you some idea as to where this is pointing, having a pre-feasibility, very hard numbers around where these things lever and what impacts different scenarios will play out. We were playing scenarios of just 5 years impact with Levera, adding in material from year 3 to year 5, thinking that we probably didn't have access to better grade than what was at the front end of product already. That's changed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So even these numbers are out of date. But look, they were, adding in 5 years of material of open pit just into the front end and pushing our mine life from 20 to 25 years. That was moving project NPVs by 50%.
Right.
And IRRs by 50% up. So we were arriving in the high 20% just with that assessment. Now with these latest drill results and the results that will come to market, I think that we're probably getting very confident about Levera impacting year 1.
Right.
And dragging those payback periods, that kind of additional revenue right up front in a project tends to pay back capital very quickly. So I imagine that this will be pushing paybacks towards 2 years from 4.5 years in a pre-feasibility that was only put out 9 months ago. So a lot of impact. And then of course, we get that double lever, the copper price and the growth coming together. In the pre-feasibility, we were very levered to copper price, 10 cents, added $100 million US of post-tax NPV. For every 10 cents, it moved above $4.30. So, that was a really strong amount of torque. But even in that 5-year impact assessment initially on Levera, that changes that equation to almost 170 million US of NPV for every 10 cents. And we think we'll do better. So we're probably going to arrive as the most talked advanced copper developer, in the sector. So things are going very well. And sometimes it takes that extra spark to move from a story where everyone's saying, we understand it's one of 5 projects at this scale outside of the majors. It's very well advanced. It's got a low elevation advantage. It's got this embedded water asset that no one's valuing and could be an X factor, and the stock's not appreciating anything. And then you add a spark like Levera at the right time.
Yeah.
And you have share price performance. So well done on your investment a year ago.
It's excellent. Let's talk about the water project. And it made such a bigger impact to me having visited the Huasco Valley, to be where that ocean intake is going to be, and then watching how that pipeline is going to make it to site. You're going to improve a lot of the lives of people in this valley. And I think that was one of the biggest things that stood out to me, that I don't think a lot of investors necessarily, you hear about it, but until you experience it, it really doesn't sink in as much. So maybe talk about that, what the impact to Hot Chili from a valuation standpoint, but then also how it parlays into the community when that does eventually come to them.
Yeah, well, stepping backwards, we applied for a maritime concession a long time ago when you could take water out of the ground for mining, and that changed. So we're one of 2 companies in 22 years to have received a maritime concession, which that's very meaningful in the context that it took us 10 years to secure that maritime concession and the associated rights around it. So we sit here now in an entire region where you can't take water out of the ground to develop new mines, and where water is a very, very scarce resource to the communities, to the agricultural sector in this part of Chile and the southern Atacama. So we're in a very water-stressed region. So we fast forward now to a pre-feasibility where we assessed, the impact of our salt water to supply Costa Fuego with its processing water to build our mine, because we have better metallurgy with an older deposit that gets better recovery using seawater. We're one of about 25% of projects or production out of Chile that uses or will use seawater to produce copper. And so that's about water security for us. But we've been advancing a second maritime concession to have a completely dedicated desalination license for the region owned by Hot Chili. Now, that is something that is very meaningful to all of the major copper projects around us in the high Andes that currently have water challenges getting access to water, because there is only one license and we control it. But secondly, you touched on something that we've been working on in the background with the communities, with the government, to ensure that if there is the potential to develop a large multi-user water business for the Huasco region, mainly benefiting those large copper developers, allowing them to accelerate their plans to production because of water access. But it's also the water access to the agricultural communities, to the people of the Huasco region. That is a really, really great tie-in to our social integration. I won't say social license. There's no license that is required, but it's about how we're going to operate with the community to bring benefit and bring water to the desert. That's very, very unique. If we're a mining company that is talking about, jobs and spreading intergenerational wealth into the community, that's a standard thing that all mining companies should do. But to bring water to the desert and to the people of the Huasco region, that is a completely different tie-in to how we integrate within the community and how we bring that benefit that is very tangible to agriculture and to a meaningful impact to people's lives in this region. So that is something that's very unique opportunity that Huasco Water brings.
Absolutely, and I think the market is absolutely missing it, which is opportunity for investors.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Levera being the spark for the share price. I believe that Huasco Water is the next spark that comes to Hot Chili, and I think that when we get into the second quarter of this year, we expect to probably see some movement on that second desalination water license, hopefully being approved. When that happens, and I imagine we've done a lot of work with the potential off-takers and the potential major investors that might be interested in joining with us to fund such an exercise.
Awesome. And so that's Owasco. You've got continuing drill results from Levera, and you will be starting a feasibility study at some point. Do you think in 2026?
Yeah, look, the feasibility is actually underway. We're in the value engineering stage.
Okay.
That work has been going, and we've been looking at all different types of trade-offs, making our final decisions. But obviously, with the impact of Levera, we want to integrate that into the feasibility. So the feasibility will be coming out and hopefully, taking form towards the end of the year.
Okay.
About the same time as we're ready to submit our environmental impact assessment on the final definition of the project. Okay. And so Levera will be a very big part of that, and our drill rigs will be accelerating to make sure that there's a big impact on the economics. And I think that we're probably looking at some very superior economics coming to the project now, along with scale.
Awesome. Well, Christian, thank you so much for presenting with me. Total opportunity I see in copper in Hot Chile, leading the pack. Everyone watching, please check out Hot Chile.